And joining us tonight, let's see what the man who runs the agency responsible for administering immigration laws in this country has to say about that. The acting director of U.S. Immigration and Citizenship and Immigration Services. Let me see if I can get that in the right order.
It's a mouthful, Lou.
Ken Cuccinelli. Great to see you again.
Good to be with you, Lou.
Let's start with, as the president refers to him, Sleepy Joe Biden. No problem. 2 million more immigrants. Have at it.
Well, as a simple policy matter, we're already overwhelmed. As you noted, I run the agency that deals with processing all of these immigrants, and we have a massive asylum backlog, over 330,000 cases. Over in the Department of Justice, they have approximately a 900,000 case backlog in immigration. So between us, we are clearly numerically overwhelmed. You have seen and reported extensively on the crisis at the border. These are all related, of course. And until Congress actually starts to work to close some of the loopholes that are attracting people to swarm our border, we're not going to see long-term relief. Now, we have seen some short-term relief as a result of some of the president's policies taking hold and finally getting some cooperation from Mexico, largely because this president has taken a different tack than any of his predecessors. A different tack? I mean, with both political parties opposing him in securing the border, in stopping illegal immigration, he has had to, and frankly, in most cases, on his own, come up with the idea of tariffs against Mexico if they continued their incentivizing Central American immigrants to come to the United States, coming up with the third safe country policy, and also, by the way, coming up with an imaginative way to bring billions of dollars out of the federal budget from another department to build a wall. I mean, this is the kind of thinking, original thinking, that the president needs from all quarters. That's right.
He does pretty well on his own, but he could sure use some help.
Absolutely. And look, the American government is built on not just checks and balances, but to solve problems working together. And Congress is refusing to do that. Now, I will say Senator Graham in the Senate made a good run in July at trying to get some asylum fixes, including some, by the way, that were supported by President Obama's administration. So this is not all one-sided. These are just basic problems with our system that we're trying to fix. Congress isn't helping us, so the president is using every other tool that he has legally available to him. And look, Lou, they're having a positive effect. It's why our numbers went down again in July, and it's why you see ICE operations being successful. All of those things go forward at the same time, and we're going to keep pressing.
Keep pressing, keep innovating, and keep solving the problem. And that is what's happening. And as you correctly point out, the administration is making a huge difference. The problem is those numbers are still twice what they were a year ago.
As good as they were last month, Lou, they're still at crisis levels. And I've talked about Congress, but I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that there are plenty of judges, not a majority, but plenty of judges out there who are vastly overstepping the boundaries of their Article 3 jurisdiction and stepping in. It's why this administration has suffered from more national injunctions than I don't even know how many presidents before us combined. It may be all of them at this point. But you even have it happen, as we did recently from a California judge, where a Washington district judge had already ruled in favor of the Trump policy. So even in conflict, they ignore other rulings, and they essentially seek successfully in many instances to overrule other judges that they don't have any jurisdiction over. So we're battling on two fronts, some of the courts and the Congress, but pressing ahead with the president's leadership and having some success. But long term, it's going to take more partners.
It's going to take more innovation, a lot more original thinking. Because your partners are not going to be in the Democratic Party. I don't care what Senator Schumer says. I don't care what Nancy Pelosi says. They're not going to be your partners, and I know that the president wouldn't even consider relying on that prospect because they are adamantly insistent upon this president failing whether it is failing to get the wall up, failing to stop illegal immigration. That's a victory they sure don't want to hand him.
Well, and we're out to earn it anyway. And this president has, as you noted, Lou, used DOD funds, which we just won on in court recently. And I mentioned the courts. When these cases go all the way up, which takes a while, the president is winning. His policies are being vindicated in the courts. But that takes a long time. But when they are vindicated, we've now freed up a lot of dollars from DOD. We expect to get a dozen scores, hundreds more miles of wall built because of DOD funding over the next couple of years. So we're in a good position to finish out next year with several hundred new miles of wall on a 2,000-mile border, and they're all in the most strategic spots on the border. Good. They all where they have the most effect and protect CBP agents and so forth.
Well, as you know, this administration doesn't have if I may say, a stronger supporter than I am for its policies and for its leadership, if I can put it that way. But I'm also hearing simultaneously from the Senate and from the House, where they passed House Bill 1044. In the Senate, it's 386. Mitch McConnell is going to take it up. We heard the president start talking about we need more legal immigrants in addition to stopping illegal immigrants. And on that, I think he's half right. What in the world is going on about talking about increasing legal immigration from its current levels of, what is it, 1 million a year?
Well, I think what I've seen, and certainly in my agency, we've seen, for instance, with some of the visas reshifting we've done, we've gotten higher value visas issued. So in the tech space, we've gotten more master's degree candidates than we used to have, just higher value to add to our economy here in the U.S.
You're not supporting 386, are you, Ken?
Honestly, I don't know these bills by the numbers. I know them by the subject matter.
Okay, it's the immigrant rights bill in the Senate. You know, I'd like to hear middle-class workers' rights. I'd like to hear forgotten man and woman rights in this administration, in this government, at this time.
And what I have been with the president repeatedly as he talks about protecting American workers, and that's one of the things we've been doing, one visa category at a time in my agency, and we're still doing it, Lou. We're still doing it. It's all boring bureaucratic stuff, but it has a real impact on opportunity for Americans and increasing that opportunity.
Well, as long as I don't hear about an H-1B visa being doubled, I'll believe every word of what you're saying, Ken. But when Mitch McConnell and Nancy Pelosi start pushing the idea that we've got to have more foreign workers on visas for outsourcing American jobs to Indian and Chinese workers, I get awful excited and doggone annoyed.
Well, Lou, you're not
I'll just have to learn to live with that.
Agency.
I'm sorry?
Well, you're not going to see that come through my agency. If Congress gets together and does something, we're going to have to follow the law, of course. But
of course you will.
You aren't going to see that come.
That's why those guys are the ones who hacked me off pretty badly. Ken Coach,
I understand.
Good to see you,
Lou.
And thanks for all you're doing.
Have a good weekend.
You too. Up next.